Tina. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you for asking. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you too.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So tell me, from Shanghai, China to Kansas City at the age of 16, how how was that? How was that transition? What were the major differences that you noticed at such a young age, and how long did it take for you to get used to those differences?
Oh God. Literally the first thing I noticed was how blue the sky was.
Mm. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, because at the time, it's much better now, but at the time Shanghai was kind of polluted. So the
Okay.
sky was always sort of like gray bluish.
Hmm.
That's all like that's still a shade of blue, right? But like Kansas City obviously is very open. So I remember I walked out of the airport, like, wow, it can be that, and it's really sunny, kind of like LA. So sunny, no cloud, just literally sky blue. And then for the first time in my life, I saw the horizon, like where the sky meets the land. Because
Sure.
again, you don't really get to see that in like cities like New York or Shanghai, because there's always high rise. So I'm like, wow, that's the horizon. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Now, how long were you in Kansas City before you moved again?
I was there for around 8 years, like all the way. Yeah.
Okay.
So high school, 2 years high school, then college. And yeah, my family are still there.
Really?
Mhm.
Wow. Now, did any of your family, being in Kansas City at that amount of time, did they pick up on the Kansas City like accent kind of deal just from being in the environment? Because I know I've heard and I've experienced different people that have from
Uh-huh.
different parts of the world and the country, how they'll kind of pick up on the accent where they are.
That's interesting because I don't really think Kansas City has a strong accent. It's pretty
Okay.
much, yeah, like Heartland of America. Like, because I don't know, where are you from?
Michigan, Inkster, Michigan.
Okay. So when you say Kansas City, a lot of people think of like it's Kansas. It's got to be
Right.
like there's some kind of country accent.
True, true.
City is still a city. I think there's some slangs. People say big O a lot, like big O something, right?
Okay.
Other than that, I don't think accent they have a strong one. Which it'd be interesting if they have a strong accent, because I have another Asian American friend. He's from the South, right? So he can turn on and off this certain accent, which is really cool. Yeah, like an Asian guy with a full like certain accent. That's kind of hot.
Right, right.
I think anybody with a certain accent is kind of hot. But yeah, so Kansas City just very standard accent. I don't think it's too much there.
Well, when you said that anyone with an accent is kind of hard, it may want to start changing, talk with an accent too. So maybe you think the same.
Dude. Dude, that is amazing. Please keep doing that.
Oh my! Oh. Let me let me ask you. So
Yeah.
you drove 27 hours straight to Hollywood, California, to pursue entertainment and acting.
Great.
What sparked that fire within you to want to make a 27-hour drive straight?
Because the drive was really boring. So I want to get it over with. That's what inspired me to do the 27 hours, which nobody should do. It's really stupid. And I almost killed myself, like literally. Yeah, but the spark for me to go into filmmaking is I'm usually quite a like relaxed, chilled person, so I don't like to get into arguments or disagreement with people, because I think like there's no point of arguing anything. You're just gonna make the people think the other way more just because the pride,
Mhm.
So literally a few things I would argue. And then that got a thank for a good friend of mine's husband now. We
Okay.
used to be like high school friends.
Sure.
So he likes to, like if you have a girlfriend and then like you want to pick on her friends, right? So we
Sure.
kind of have that kind of relationship going on. So he constantly picked on like whatever I like or my taste is, which I usually don't care. I know it's like, childish play kind of
Right.
thing. It's not serious. But I
Right.
remember, back in the day, there's a Redbox, like, the renting the movie.
Yeah, I sure do remember.
So I remembered one day we just like rent some movie from Redbox, right?
Mhm.
So I picked the movie that I already saw. I thought it was it's comedy. I thought it was good. So then we watched it, and then he was just giving me a hard time on my movie taste.
Okay.
You know, again, like usually I wouldn't care, but I don't know, just because of he criticized on my movie taste, I was sort of worked up because of that. Then later on, I was driving back, I was thinking, why would I even care? Because like usually I don't care what people say, you know, and I know he's joking.
Right.
Then I tell myself I must care about movie, you know. And then, you know, it's a time then I was still like late teens, early 20s. So I think for most people, you are not lucky enough to know exactly what you want to do when you grew up. But there will be moments like this that trigger you to think, why did I care about this topic so much? Like, what's the message really behind it? So I start thinking, and then really combine all my talent and my passion. I think I should belong in the storytelling, you know, film business, because I love to tell stories, and then I love art. You know, for me, like film, television, that type of art is a very common, like down to earth, not like, oh, fancy, I'm like some painting, understand me or not, right? It's something that I think creators, filmmakers can communicate their thoughts to the audience, not in a way that I'm lecturing you, right? But like, I'm going to entertain you, and then hopefully you get some laugh, tears, scares, amusement out of it. And then you start thinking, like, is there a message that connects to you? Could you be, you know, learn something, be a better person, see a different perspective from this piece of work? So that's what inspired me to, because, you know, again, Hollywood is a place to be if you want to make this happen.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I have to commend you for doing that, and you did it alone, straight. It's like a lot of people sometimes feel something, but they don't do anything with it. So that's really cool that you did that. Not to mention the fact I can only imagine the people that were also inspired by you doing that as well, you know? So
I think so, yeah. I'm not talking down on Kansas City. Again, we just won the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
But what happened, it's not just a Kansas City thing. I think it's overall, like, think about the people you grew up with, right? Like, how many of them actually left the neighborhood? Not many, you know? And then is it just sort of like, I think it's a fear of leaving something that you're used to. Absolutely. Again, nothing wrong if that's a life you love, you like, right? But if you feel like there's another calling, and then if just leaving the comfort zone is what scares you, it might not be the healthiest thing, because, you know, what's consistent is actually change. So if you think I'm going to stay there because I'm afraid of change is going to happen no matter what. So it shouldn't be like a main reason to stop you, to go anywhere, to do something else.
100%. And that's why I have to reiterate that that's a beautiful thing that you did that, because a lot of people don't do it. And I know, whether they've said it to you or not, that it was inspirational for you to do that. Even your good friend and her husband, you know, he was ridiculing and joking, but I'm sure he can look back like, wow, you know, Nina did it. You know, he just has to cover his mouth.
No, he good. His wife become a doctor. He good.
Oh, okay, well, that'll work. See?
They're in Washington, D.C. now. Yeah, they're doing good.
That's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
Yes. Nina, tell me about the trip to Hong Kong that inspired you to move back to China.
That was interesting, because, you know, that was around 2011-ish, like around that time period, you know, like, because I left China when I was only a teenager, right? Sure. And then I was, you know, pretty traditional family, so I was pretty protected. I didn't really know like how everything worked.
Sure.
And I came here, started this career, and then I keep hearing like, oh, China's booming up, like every aspect, not just entertainment business. But because that's a business I'm in, I start to get curious. So how is the entertainment business in China? I don't know. I didn't know anything about it. It was just purely a curiosity, right? And then, you know, Hong Kong film market it's quite a common thing for a lot of filmmakers here in the States, in Hollywood, to go to every year. So, you know, I was like, okay, that would be an interesting event, sort of just to see how the Asian cinema is. So I went, and then I forgot if I met some friends before, afterwards, possibly before. But it's basically like industry. Besides, buy and sell movies, screening, and then there's just industry networking, right? So when there met a lot of people, and then they keep saying that I would be really good for a lot of the movie that or television that China's making at the time, because they're lacking bilingual talents, and they're trying to basically kind of make the genre, the contents a little bit more variety, which means a little bit more international appealing.
Sure.
So I took that advice kind of seriously, because LA is a great place to live in. So a lot of times that I've been like in LA talking to filmmakers, actors, some of them literally were talking about the works they've done 10 years ago. They're still talking about it. And then to me, I don't like to be around people like that. It's just because it feels like, wow, like, am I going to be one of those people that after 10 years, I'm like, oh, I did that one thing. For me, like Asia at the time, everything's moving really fast, which I liked. So, you want to be around people who can inspire you in different stage, right? So I was starting out at the time. For me to be around people who were talking about the works 10 years ago I feel like I was in the wrong place to start my career, to be honest, right? So I moved to Beijing, which, capital of China, that is still sort of like Hollywood of China. Again, you shoot film everywhere. Unlike Hollywood, they don't have really big studios in town. They shoot everywhere, but they do like a lot of pre-production there. So, and for me to never lived in Beijing, to go there, it's actually more of a culture shock than when I was moving from Shanghai to America.
I was going to ask you. Yep, I was going to ask that.
It's very different, because Shanghai, I think it's more like Hong Kong, it's very international. And as born and grew up there till I was 16, right? So Beijing is very mainland China, which is an area that I've never lived before. Even like, I think the culture, there's a culture difference. They're more traditional. Their lifestyle's different. The weather's very dry. The landscape was different. It's just not like a life that I'm used to. Yeah, but the opportunity is real. Very quickly, I realized how different that town is compared to Hollywood. I'll give you a very direct example. Like, I remember the first acting class I take here in the Valley. The coach told us, he said, you guys are all newbies. So if you get called to a casting and it's in a hotel room, don't go, because it's gonna be like a casting couch situation, especially for your girls. If it's in a hotel room, not in a casting office, don't go. It's not legit. But all the castings in Beijing are in hotel rooms. It's because at the time, the production works differently. Here, they have casting directors working for themselves. They're hired by productions, but it's not like they work for the production. At the time in China, the casting directors, they are hired by productions. So which means there are several hotels they kind of station in there to do pre-production. That makes all the casting happen in hotel rooms. So, and because there's so many productions there, I know it's not shady. So I went. Then, just seeing other actors in the room, right? And then how they carry themselves, how they interact with the directors, with the casting team. I was like, wow, I am so different from them. I just didn't feel like I belong. So I had this thought process in my head. Every actor has probably like, oh, I can play anybody, right? So I was thinking, okay, you're an actress. Can you act more local? Is what I told myself. Can I pretend to not be me in real life and pretend I'm more local in order to fit in? But I think right away I cancel my thoughts, like right then and there when I have that thought.
Sure.
Because I had like a vague realization of, even if I act like I'm, more, what I say, more plain, more bland, more fit in, I would just throw myself to a bigger pile of competition. And they are real, they are authentically themselves because they are the local actress, right? They grew up in the system, they train in the system. Like I would just, it's like, okay, if you're pretty blonde, you're like, yeah, there's a lot of roles for like pretty blonde out there, in Hollywood. So I dye my hair blonde, and then like, wow, shoot, there are so many other like pretty blonde girls out there with a valley accent. Like, is there any advantage? Not really, right? Sure. So I kept my edge and just keep going. And then there's a lot of times I literally run into a lot of awkward situation, like literally, it sounds so wrong these days, but I will give you one of the most extreme example. And then again, that does not represent all casting directors in China. It's just specifically this guy. And then I told you, usually like when people give me criticize, I don't really care. But this guy says something that's extremely out of line. So, I have this jawline, which I like. So thank you so much. So, casting, you do like, like this, and then he goes, oh, yeah, you look good, like in general, but like this jawline, like because there's the plastic surgery in Asia. I hope it's ended now, but at the time it was sort of popular, which is you shave your jawline in order to like literally shave off the bone. I'm not even kidding, just shave the bone in order for your face to look like this.
Wow.
Like a triangle. It's crazy. So he told me that I should went to get a surgery. And then at the time, it was already on the news that somebody died from that surgery because it's a huge one. It's a huge surgery, right? So that I was like, wow. I told the guy, again, with a smile on my face, I said, I like my jawline. This is what make me me. And then you can just tell from that guy's face, nobody has ever told him in this casting room else before. Again, that's a very normal, common guy. I think he was even younger than me, but because he was in that position, and then actors there, we want a job, right? It feels like you are just in a lower power than this random dude. So for somebody to tell him, like, he's not Quentin Tarantino, like, who cares? Like, he's usually like, oh, he don't feel visible. That's probably why in that room he feels like he can just abuse people's feeling. He, it's really sick thing to do. But for me to even say that without any anger, without any, nasty words, just said it as it is, that's enough a lesson for him to be like, hey, don't feel like you can just say anything just because you're in that chair.
Sure. Wake up call. Yeah, nice.
So, and the main instinct was right. So eventually, for a lot of roles that's edgier, that's more international appealing, for a more direct example would be if they're looking for like a Lucy Liu or a Maggie Q type, there's literally not many people they can call in China, period. Okay. So, and then the word of mouth started traveling. And yeah, that's how I was able to work consistently in China.
Hey. Wow. Well, congratulations to you on that, standing out and being yourself,
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. I have to say, you have a beautiful smile, by the way.
Thank you so much.
You're great. You seem that would you say that you have a passion for pole fitness as well? If so, how did you get into it?
So there's a long version, there's a short version. I will give you like
whichever version you want to share.
So the short version, how I actually get into actual pole fitness is literally, I saw this video online, this Chinese guy, he's doing very like straight, like, the flag, right? The flag, you hold your body out. And then he did the flag, but he walked like clockwise slowly all the way down. Like he created this move and then won some international contests and started his own studio in China.
Sure.
So, and then like, again, being America before, like a lot of people thinking, including me, was pole dancing is seductive, right? It's that. So to watch him, I'm like, wow, it can be something totally different.
For sure.
So that interested me, and then I started to watch more pole video again, because I was in China. All the videos I saw are not from the, you know, just one region. I saw like East Europe, West Europe. They just like developed that to like an art form. It can be, again, it could be seductive, nothing wrong with that, right? It looks good, it's appealing, but it can also be like more contemporary, like ballet. It can be like hip hop. It can be super athletic, whatever you want to be. So that's what really interested me, because I was thinking, oh my God, it's kind of like life, right? Like you look at one person, you have this pre-assumption of what that person might be already, but there's so much more layers to it.
True.
So that's what I think is beautiful about pole fitness, you know. Is it's not exactly, it's whatever you want to you know, want to translate it to be, you know. It doesn't have to be this thing. You're like, because when people call it like stripper pole, which again, hey, nothing wrong with stripping, you know. If you don't mind doing that, do that, right? That's okay. Right. But when people just call it like that, I think a lot of people who practice like pole fitness will get a bit offended, because it's not made just for stripping. Like you might need to be opened up a little bit. Like you don't just touch a pole, you know, it's not like I'm taking things off, right? So right. Yeah. So the kind of the dark side about how people misunderstand that is actually the attraction to me. Again, I've tried a lot of other like physical activity, because in China I'm quite tall. So they constantly casting me as the action girl, which I didn't know action I hated. Like to this day, I have to be honest, I still hate workout. People don't believe me, but I hate it. So I've tried like boxing, Muay Thai, going to the gym, hated all of them. And just because pole to me, it's so beautiful. It kept me going. And I think that's good advice for anybody who wants to achieve like a physical shape. I think the end goal, which is you achieving a good shape, should not be your only motivation. You have to find something that benefits you also in your mind and in your soul, that you don't feel like you have to go. It's like, I can't wait to go. Then that's the right workout for you.
Okay, I agree with you 110% with that. How long did it take you to master it? And I say master it because I've seen several of your videos, but there's one in particular where you were going around and you were holding yourself like perfect posture, just going around it. How long did it take you to master it, and how consistently do you practice?
I don't consistently practice it, because I think everybody depends on your goal, right? Like my goal is not to go pro on that, because to me, to do something that is not very, like, for example, I don't pursue it for financial reason. I don't pursue it for, you know, it's just like a pure passion. That to me is the most luxury thing, because people, like, you know, as an adult, your time is very valuable, right? So for you to do something for pure passion without seeking any type of return, that is like way more luxurious than like a fancy car or a bag or shoes to me, or diamond necklace, because it's just there, it's that pure. So, and then again, I feel like it's more like it's kind of like meditation for me in a way, right? Sure. So I do it when I feel like it's needed. If I have time that day, I feel like I want to practice more on one particular move, I will do it. So for me, it's very casual. It's nothing pressure, because I'm not like trying to achieve anything with it. Like right now, my shoulder feels about a little bit discomfort, so I stopped doing pole for like a week now and just listen to my body a little bit. Yes. You know. So yeah, that's kind of, you know, again, I've started that like 4 years ago, on and off. Yeah, so, you know, again, if you don't give up, then you're about to get better. And then I think if somebody who actively practice it like within that amount of time that I do, they should be way better. But again, there are people who like, I'm just comfortable in beginner level, right? I'm just not going to do any crazy move. I'm just going to make my beginner level move. Again, if you just stick with the beginner move, you can also make it very beautiful, very, very fluid. So I think it all depends on the person. Listen to your body, listen to what you want, right? what do you want to achieve in this any kind of activity? You don't have to be like compared to other people. Oh my God, this girl only did it for 6 months and she's like doing all of that. Don't compare to anybody else, but compare like yesterday's you to today's you. I think that's any kind of workout or learning anything, right? You're only in competition with yourself.
Yes. Yeah. That way you don't, when you paying attention to other people is one of the quickest, easiest ways to burn yourself out or to frustrate yourself. So you make a very good point. Absolutely. Yeah. That's interesting because to see some of the things that you've accomplished when it comes to the pole, I would think that you practice consistently. You said not so much. I mean, I would almost submit to you that you have some kind, you said you don't, different exercises you didn't really gravitate towards, but to be able to not do the pole dancing on a consistent basis and be able to perform the movements that you can and do, that's impressive.
I think it's all like muscle memory. Again, like there will be times I'm more consistent. There will be times I will not be consistent. Sure. Sorry, there's a helicopter. It's Los Angeles.
Oh, it's fine. Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's just a police helicopter. Or it's an NBA star, who knows, flying somewhere. Yeah. What was I gonna say? So
we're talking about the muscle.
Yeah. For example, I don't really know which move you talk about exactly, but if I did not practice that move for a while, I might not be able to do it again unless I refresh it. That goes same with even like professionals with pole coach. It's like one group of muscle that if you don't exercise it like that often, you kind of lost the strength or you lost the feeling of how you should like do that move perfectly. You really have to revisit it. Anything I think it's sort of like physical. That's why like I have a lot of appreciation for athletes, dancers, because that's something literally if you don't practice regularly, there's no way to cheat around it. There's just no way. Right? Like there's some talents you have forever, but that kind of thing, it's literally just takes physical practice. So that's another reason why I don't go pro, because it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of time, consistency, blood and sweat going to it. That's why I have so much respect for people who's doing it, because again, no way around it but to practice.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. Now, it's interesting also, going back to when you were saying that nothing exercise that you gravitated towards except for the pole fitness, you appear to be in really good shape. Do you just have your nutrition dialed in meticulously to where, and with the genetics? I mean, how explain that to me, Nina.
God, explain my genetic. Yeah.
Because again, you were saying that with the exception of the pole fitness, that nothing else from an exercise standpoint really caught your attention. But so despite the fact that you do the pole fitness sometimes, I'm saying that you must have good genetics and practice good nutrition, because you look really good. You look to be in really good shape.
I hate to admit I don't practice good nutrition. It's funny because I'm back in LA, right? It's so not LA, but like sometimes I feel like, my God, I cannot, like, I don't feel full around certain people because they're like vegan, they like watch what they eat. I'm like, oh my God. So that's why I love, like, I'm not being any type of like I hope I'm not really insensitive, but to be honest, Asian people love to eat.
Okay.
We probably have that, like, in general, the genetic that we can handle. And again, I love soul food. I love
Kansas City. Sure.
I love ribs. I love cornbread. I love fried chicken. Like, it's so bad to admit that, but my favorite drink is, Mexican Coke in the glass bottle with a piece of lime on ice. Like, I've been drinking, that's what I've been drinking growing up. Coke. I'm okay. Like, my teeth is good. My bone structure is good. I don't know how to explain to people. It just, I guess, listen to your body. If you feel like soda or like that kind of diet, literally you cannot handle. Again, if I don't work out like at all, I still like, I'm not saying like just most of the time in a week. Like right now I told you my shoulder hurts, but I definitely did not go like, okay, I'm just gonna, sit for a week. I try to like still do, like, I did some yoga yesterday. I do like 15 minutes workout videos on YouTube, right? So I still like try to move around a little bit. But so if I don't think I can take all those basically not very healthy type of food, and then not really gain a gut, it's gonna be like a little bit muffin top or whatever at least, right? But so it all depends on you. But sometimes, because there are less fortunate, of friends who, it hits them more than it hit me, right? So I feel bad, like, to kind of do this around them. But it's, again, authentic me. When you have certain amount of muscle, it burns fat more. Like that's true. Like, and then you feel you're hungry more often. You feel you're cold more often, because you don't have a lot of fat. So what I'm saying is, like, if you already have like a certain percentage of muscle, you can eat what you like more than, so because people are like, okay, yeah, diet, or like, honestly, I don't like, starve yourself. That's the quickest way to lose weight, but it's very unhealthy. It's literally, I think, when you are in a better shape, you could eat more of what you like, just because your metabolism is better. No,
we're telling the truth. Absolutely. And then, I mean, I was just thinking about, you said you love to eat. I mean, and Kansas City is known for barbecue. I mean, it's certain states, certain cities that are known for good cooking. And Kansas City is known for, so, some of their soul food in their restaurants. So, that's not surprising.
I think I was already like that when I was in China, though. It just, like, it's not like Kansas City like changed me to like my taste. It's just always been like that. A lot of fried. It's so bad. I shouldn't even talk about it. It's unhealthy. It's still like, I should eat more veggies.
That's the thing about it. But see, Nina, you have the knowledge of it, and you do your thing, because, like, okay, you'll eat these things, but you said you'll do the yoga. When you're feeling up to it, you'll do your pole fitness, or you'll do the videos at YouTube and that. So moving around, things like that are very important. So just establishing that balance, and to look at you clearly, what you're doing works. So
It's also for mental reason. Like, if you sit in one place all day, you are not being the most productive. You take a little break, you even just walk outside, you get more productive that way.
No, 110%. Now, I've seen some of your pictures in that. Do you do modeling as well?
That's how I would say started. But because it's just, I never did modeling, I would say seriously. It's just because, like, I'm tall, I have the shape. So, when I was in Kansas City.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
Okay.
Yeah, so like tall for Asians, and then like, slim figure. So when I was in Kansas City, I was already signed with modeling agency, but I've never done it like full time. And then after I came to LA, so my Kansas City agent, had like a partner agency here, so they switched me there. And actually that's how I got into acting. Because I was thinking, like, how could I get in the film business, right? And then most common thing for LA is a lot of models, they all want to be transfer to actress. And then there's always acting classes going around all day, every day, right? So that's how I actually fall into acting. But modeling, I think you see some pictures. It's because when good photographers reach out, it's very hard for me to say no to them just because of their talent. Yeah, it's a lot just for trade picture, but I'm like, wow, those photographers are creating some amazing visual. Because for me, that's why, like, you can be a supermodel, but if the photographer's bad, the picture's gonna look cheesy and bad. You can, you don't have to. For me, it's so easy. Like, modeling, it's nothing challenging, to be honest. I would say a lot of models, if they did other things, they would tell the same thing. There's really not much you can do, like, as a pure object in front of, because acting is different. Like, you're also creating something. But you're just standing there posting, like, it's really boring, And then, so a lot of things is, I think the picture is controlled by the photographer. You're an object. Unless, which I'm going to get into later, is unless you create the concept together with a photographer, like the meanings behind the photos. Like one of the collaboration I'm about to do with a designer and the photographer is his line is very anti-fast fashion, so it's sustainable. So the story you're creating behind it is like saving the earth, right? So if you're in the part of the creative team, then yes, it's interesting. Otherwise, you're just standing there. It's hard to say no when you know I ran into those photographers who want to create those visions and they're artists. It's hard for me to say no, be like, no, I'm not gonna collaborate. I'm like, yeah, I want to like help you to make your vision happen.
Wow, I'm sure they appreciate that as well. You know, considering the fact that, you know, certain things, you know, that you do. Aside of working on Gone with the Bullet and the Jade Pendant, what would you say is your most or have been your most memorable moments in acting?
I'm sure like a lot of actors, you know, got asked for those questions. I think it's going to be tough for people to answer, you know, because honestly, every production is different. Because, you know, if you work like regular jobs, you work for a company, a corporation, that go on supposedly, I would say most of the time for years, right? But for film like productions, it's like just a few months, right? It's like, okay, you have this family and then you're apart. Who knows you're gonna ever meet again, you know, the job or not, right? So I would say every production is honestly different. And then it depends on like, not just your role, not just how you come out in the end, it's the whole experience, people you're around. Honestly, every production is like its own adventure. And that's why it's hard. Like that life is really interesting. It's like an adventure. It's I don't think averagely it's the most stable pay, you know, because there's like gig after gig, right? But I think a lot of people still love the life just because it's so different than like an office job. It's so interesting. Sure. Yeah, honestly, I can't like. Again, I'm sort of like kind of like I don't like to keep a lot of stuff, you know. I don't like clusters. But sometimes I wish like if I would just keep the one thing from every production I worked with, that would be pretty amazing. Okay. Yeah. They're all memorable.
Sure. Well, I guess you may not necessarily hold on to the tangible things, but the memories, like certain things you may have experienced working on Gone with the Bullet that will always stick with you, certain things that you experienced on the Jade Pendant, or even Transformers. Which Transformers film was it? Was it Age of Extinction that you worked on?
Yes. Yeah, I can give you examples. Like, for example, Gone with the Bullet, right? The director and the lead actor's name is Jiang Wen, so he's one of like the biggest and most sort of like I would say like in comparison, like Quentin Tarantino will be similar to him, but he's more of an actor too. So for me, I never worked with a director who also like acts in the film. Like I was thinking like, how can you do that? Because like I don't know about directing. Hopefully soon one day I will get into that. But acting takes a lot of concentration, right? It takes a lot of concentration. So for me, it's like, how is one person able to do both? So I see his method, which to me, it's so not what I thought. Because I thought it'd be really stressful, but he's actually quite relaxed. So yeah, literally he act with us and then try to like, I think a lot of good directors, they try to make, even they're famous, they try to make people around them feel at ease during shoot. Because if you're tense, like, oh my God, I'm working with this big director, I'm working with a big star, like your acting cannot really come out. So he tried to make the room feel light, you know? And then he did this like one take with you guys. He went, check the monitors, come back with suggestions, we do another take. That's just like his method. It's quite like, it's not much to it. It seemed like there's not much to it. Maybe I was overthinking it, but to me, it's like, it's quite amazing. And then he's, yeah, like he's like whole presence, like people would think like, oh my God, that person might be scary to work with, right? It's exactly not the same. So I'm sure that goes for a lot of big director too. Like they seem like they're one way, the press say they're one way, until you work with them, like, that's not true, you know?
Okay.
Yeah,
sure, absolutely. Do you have a wish list in terms of actors or actresses that you like to work with that you haven't already?
Ooh, yeah.
Let's hear it.
I'm gonna say her name wrong because everybody say her name wrong. Charlize. Oh shoot, what's her name?
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron. Yeah, because she like said in some interview that everybody pronounced her name wrong. She kind of just give up. So I don't feel too bad. But yeah, for me, she is someone I definitely love to work with in the future. It's just because I think people like her. Again, like I mentioned the pretty blonde example earlier, right? So she fits the type. So if she didn't, like, people would think, okay, you're a woman. I think a lot of guys even think like that. Because again, I'm not like anti-man whatsoever. I definitely think men in this society hold a lot of stress as well. And then there's fear outlets, like you get criticized more if you start to talk about your feelings, right? That's why it's very difficult for men too. But for her, it's if she did not fight back, she would just be burned out like a lot of Hollywood actors who were famous at one time for one or two movie, because they fit the look. Right. And then they get fade out, and then they get it's sad. It's really sad. They get depressed. They're like, oh, Hollywood's ageism. A lot of, which is true. But that just means you have to fight harder. You have to basically take away this thing. Like she did Monster, right? Produced, actor herself. That's the extremely good example. Is she took away this thing. And see, without this, I can still do this, and that. So that just established her as a actress, not just as a like pretty woman. Sure. So that's why it's one thing I really, really appreciate her. And also I know her background like a ballerina, but she got injured, so she couldn't produce that anymore. So I told you I have a lot of respect for people who are dancers, athletes, because I think it's not just train your body, it trains your mind. You're really, really disciplined. There's a lot of hardship in life in your career you can overcome because you have this physical and mental discipline. So I think that's what happened to her. And then she did a lot of action film to me. It looks I can tell. I've done enough action film. I can tell the shots whether she used the stunt double or not. And then some of her films are long shots. I just know she did not have stunt double, and I read some articles. It was her doing it. It's not easy. I have a lot of respect for her. Yeah.
Okay, so Charlize Theron. Okay, that'll work. Tell me about the show, the WWE show that you were a host on. I think it was like first of its kind in China.
Yeah, so that it's also super random because people say, "How do you get into WWE? That is so cool. How do you get that job?" The thing is, it's sort of, it's not sort of, actually what happened, it fell on my lap.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
Yeah, I told you, right? Like my thing is I decided to keep my edge. Basically, when I started my career in China, I was like, I'm gonna just be authentically myself. I'm this like biculture, East-West, girl. And then I'm bilingual, and then I don't act very local Chinese. I'm international, right? And then that's what exactly led me to WWE, because they were launching this program, specifically for China. But they really couldn't find a lot of people who would suit that position. That it was international background, family friendly, also bilingual, fit, healthy looking. It's very difficult to find in China because that's not like really the standard. I would say standard female standard in China, especially for entertainment. So I have this whole belief. I think it goes the same for any industry, because a lot of people are like, oh, you gotta network, you gotta mingle, go to events, you're gonna go to like dinner parties to meet people. I still find it's true. It's the best network is through working. So don't worry about like meeting a bunch of people who are just talkers, going to like parties, unless you're enjoying it, right? Nothing wrong, right? Going out is nothing wrong. But people don't get to see your work when you're out there just having fun, right? Sure. So how I got to this job is I worked on a commercial. And then the assistant director remembered that I'm bilingual, you know, Mandarin and English. So her friend got hired to do this show as producer, and then they told her like they're running out of time, they couldn't find a host. So she recommended me, and then that's how I get hired and got the job. Yeah. It's, you know, just do your thing. Just do your thing. People remember you. It's not like, don't overthink it.
Pretty much, yeah. That's very true. Very true. Now, is that show still going on?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. Are you still hosting?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Any standouts in terms of people that you met doing that particular gig?
Oh yeah. I think I told you before, I have a lot of appreciation for athletes.
Sure.
So especially like WWE, the wrestlers, oh my God, the extreme like athleticism, and then you know, from the actual show, from the training, oh my God, it's like I mean, people say, you know, things about like wrestlers, but to me it's nothing less than football. You know, it's a lot of danger, you know, for head injuries.
Absolutely.
You know, you just, I think it takes a certain kind of people to do it, because you gotta love it that much to be basically a superhuman, you know, to be in the ring. Same as football, same as a lot of other things. You just gotta be that passionate in order to be that, you know, honestly, like WWE super, you know, superstars you are, you know, you're on that stage, you're more than yourself. I have too much patience because WWE has it's nonstop, right? The match you saw, it's like on TV, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. But what you don't see on TV, like the dark match, you know, the road shows, they have no time to rest. Like, can you imagine, right? And then also, that's why a lot of them also become really good actors. It trains. That's the training, right? The Rock is amazing. You know, can you imagine doing an improv with that guy? You cannot keep up. Just his mic skills, right? Yeah, that's intimidating. Like, I would think like if we do like any sort of improv with him, we would be speechless. Like, this guy's brain just doesn't stop.
Yeah. And the more you do something, the better you get at it. And he's been doing it for a number of years. But the same is true for you as an actress, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Again, that goes back to the thing I mentioned about it's the athletes, right? Train themselves. It's not just physical, it's also mental. So any type of thing when you're into any hardship in your career, it's really kind of like that type of working ethic. Because wrestlers has really good working ethic.
For sure.
You know, you're the discipline. So that's what made a lot of them to be also successful in other careers too.
I can believe that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nina, what advice would you have for someone that is experiencing a tough time in their life?
That is, you know, I've actually been through some tough time as well. Like some of the hardest thing I've ever had to face, like as a human being, recently it happened. So I gave myself some time to heal, but then also it's about the balance, right? Like, I definitely remember there's a specific point I told myself, enough is enough. You got to go back to your day-to-day, you know? So, and then before that, it felt too early. It just felt too early for me to actually get back to my regular life. So I would say, like, listen to yourself.
Okay.
um yeah, I mean, I think I'm blessed with this I will almost call it like a superpower is self-healing. But I realize a lot of people unfortunately just don't have that ability. So definitely seek professional help if you needed to, because a lot of times, like, humans, we're so fragile, right? We don't know why we are here, we don't know where we are going. And then if something really difficult like happened to you or people around you, it makes you question all things, like what's the point of anything.
Very true.
And there's so much toxic in this world that you can just fall into and numb yourself. And then, you know, it's just so unhealthy to you, it's so unhealthy to people around you. That's why I think it's very important to have role models, you know, because more or less, as much as, you know, you think people are different, we are very much the same, actually, deep inside. So to have role models, that's why I think, like, again, entertainment or it's sports or a lot of things, right? Is you're making like this role model, and then you just look at what they've been through, you see what they're talking about, you're like, okay, I can overcome the same thing, you know, if they can overcome it, and they give you like a purpose. And then for me, it's if I think like you can inspire one person, logically, right? Like if everyone can inspire one person, the world should just be a really good place. So why it's not is I think a lot of people are just not being inspiring whatsoever. It's sad. It's once you give up, you're like, okay, what's the point of me doing good? What's the point of me, you know, doing anything? That's like very toxic place to you, because there is a purpose, you know, like we're making the world go around, and we're passing on our value to our offsprings, you know, to the next generation. So to get your mind out of the dark place, whatever you do, if you feel like you need to seek professional help, please do, because sometimes we can get so wrapped up in our own thoughts, and then, you know, one wrong thought, one wrong move, there's no going back. So listen to your calling. Do you get like at least talk to other people. It just, you cannot be, sometimes you're not you know, and then you have to really think who you could become, and then let that person kind of talk to you and feel the difference between you now and that person that you could be, the best version of yourself, and see the difference, work on those differences.
Sure.
I think like one thing is people have endless potentials, like literally endless potentials.
Agreed.
So it just, you honestly, you're the only person who's keeping you down. So please uplift yourself.
yeah, most definitely. What is some advice or a word of encouragement that you wish someone had shared with you when you were going through a tough time? It doesn't have to be what you're experiencing right now, what you're coming out of. It could have been when you were 5 or 6 or 17, but what's a word of encouragement you wish someone had shared with you at that particular point that would have helped you?
It's a tough one, because I actually did have people helped me when I was going through a very difficult time when I was 18. And then it's literally like not through words. For me, it's interesting because when people are going through a hard time, you know, for example, like if your friend lost one of their family members, you always like, oh my God, like, what do I say, right? There's nothing I can say is right. You feel like words are so powerless, you know? And here's exactly my point is, a lot of time it doesn't have to be words, it doesn't have to be any type of encouragement, because in real difficult times, all of that seems so empty, right? It's literally your gesture. Like I had a family basically take me in for like a month to help me out. Just, you know, I moved out when I was 18. So they let me stay in their the guest room for like a month, and that really, it just like that, you know. And I didn't think like, again, it's a friend of mine from high school. we're friends, but it's not like we know each other that well, right? So they could have a lot of suspicious of like this stranger, like we don't want to open our door to her, but it's literally it's really that action, that really helped me. So for me, it's anybody, our life going through up and downs. That's why I think like a lot of people who take the time to do charities, they're the real heroes, because give whatever you can. Everybody at any kind of situation have something to give, right? Either it's your time, your money, your living space, whatever. So whatever you can do to help, that could change a person's perspective of like, wow, this world is not such like an evil place. There are still people who open up their heart and want to help strangers. To me, like those are the most encouragement that anybody could get. It's not literally through words and advice, it's through action.
100%. That's very true. Very true. Because words do show love. That's very true. Well, Nina, I just want to thank you again so very much for taking the time out of your schedule to have a conversation with me. I truly appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else you do next.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have a wonderful day, okay?
You too. Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you. Bye.